Hello, everyone. I am joined here today by Combat Sports UK's Patrick McCorry to do UFC 288 picks and predictions. Patrick, how we doing today?
Doing well, man. Excited for the card. I don't like that people were saying it wasn't a good card. It's definitely a lot better with all the short notice replacements, but it's going to be a fun card for sure.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing card. I really didn't get the hate towards it either. I was a big fan of I was a big fan of the Bryce Mitchell fight, and that fell off, and then he got an amazing replacement, a fight that was even
Yeah.
better. So then I was so stoked about that. The Charles Jourdain Gracie fights really just weird and interesting. That could go a lot of different
Yeah.
ways. There's just a lot of fun, cool fights on this card. So I didn't like the fact that people were saying it was a boring one either, honestly.
No,
So
no, not at all.
let's get started with this first fight here. We got Daniel Santos versus Johnny Munoz. Johnny Munoz has finished 9 of his 12 wins, 7 of those with coming by sub, 2 of those coming by KO. He is 2-2 in the UFC, and he is coming off a win over Ludwig Xiaonan and a loss to Tony Gravely before that. So, Patrick, you get us started. What do you think is going to happen in? What do you think about Johnny Munoz? First off.
Johnny Munoz is really, really good, man. His performance against Shalinian, while Shalinian maybe is not the best fighter ever, he's not had a good run after the Ultimate Fighter, losing to Jack Shore, and then this one. It was a case of Shalinian not really throwing last, if I remember correctly, it was just Munoz picking him apart
Mm-hmm.
in that one. Good submission game, as you said before. You said what, 7 of his wins come by
Yes.
submission? Yeah, man. Good ground game. I think he's got to test that with of Santos. Santos has a good ground game too, working in that Charles DuBronc's camp.
All right, and you kind of picked up on this a bit. So you think that Santos has a good ground game. What do you think of his striking a bit? I know he has that like pressure, like come forward style and just kind of brute you out. He got dropped a couple times in his last fight by Castaneda, but he just managed to weather the storm and just finish him like later in the second round, I think it was.
Yeah.
But Castaneda looked like he had been through 5 rounds of hell with Santos. It was wild. So what is your prediction for this fight?
So man, I really love Willie Cat. His
Mm-hmm.
debut didn't go well, but he also went up against Julio Arce, who is a very good fighter in his own right. Castaneda is also very good. I believe his debut was against Nathaniel Wood, Fight Island 2020.
Mm.
And he weathered the storm, as you said, like his mentor, Charles Oliveira. It was a Charles Oliveira-esque fight,
Mm-hmm.
gets dropped, loses the first round, doesn't look good, might be 0-2 in the UFC, comes back, and it was one of my favorite finishes of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, I believe it was a knee up the middle, cracked him, put him down. And yeah, I gotta go with Santos on this one. I do not see a finish though. I see Santos taking a unanimous decision. I think his pressure and just everything's gonna be too much. I'm very interested in his takedown defense though.
Okay. I personally do see Santos winning as well. I got Willie Cat winning as well. But I think he actually is going to break down Munoz in a similar way as he did to Castaneda. I think Munoz is going to have a lot of success early. I don't think he's going to drop Santos. I don't think he has the power that Castaneda did. But I think that eventually Santos is going to start working the body and eventually might just drain him out. And I think he's going to get like a similar second round finish, to be honest. So
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good prediction for
next
sure.
fight we got Joe Holmes versus Claudio Ribeiro. Joe Holmes finished all 8 of his wins, 6 sub, 2 knockouts. He's 1-2 in the UFC, coming off the loss to Jung Young Park, but he also had a very quick and clean finish over Alan Amidovsky in his last fight before that. And then we have Claudio Ribeiro, who 0-1 in the UFC, just made his debut in his last fight and didn't really go his way against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, but he looked amazing on the Contender Series in that 25-second win, and all 10 of his wins are just brutal, vicious knockouts. He has a fun style. He's got that loud cheering that someone does in the crowd for him every time. Just tell me what you think about this matchup.
Man, I think both guys are going to be coming in with a lot of steam. They're fighting for their jobs here. Joseph Holmes, friend of my show, 1-2 in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
1-3, 2 in a row, likely going to be cut. And 0-1 for Ribeiro. If he loses this one, let's say Holmes finishes him, I think he's on his way out or gets fed to a debuter. Ribeiro didn't really look settled against Razak,
Mm-hmm.
but Razak is really, really good. I was shocked that he got that matchup for his
Yeah,
debut.
it was a rough one.
Um, but the thing is with Ribeiro, he's very hittable, but then he's also powerful. So it's a trade-off. You have to be aware when you're hitting him, like keep your defense up. Holmes has decent defense. his ground game really lacked. I'm not sure if
Mhm.
Ribeiro is the kind of guy to take him down.
Mm,
I'd be interested in seeing that, but I go Holmes with the TKO. That's how I'm feeling in that matchup.
yeah.
I think Holmes, when he knocked out, I believe his name is Amidovsky. I interviewed
Yes.
him after that fight. It was a really nice knee up the middle. I think he can knock Ribeiro out again. Or I don't mean again, but I think he TKOs him. I think that's a fair prediction, but it's not one I'm confident in.
Okay. I will say this. I know a lot of people are picking Ribeiro for this fight, and I agree. I do think Joe Holmes will get this done. I was really impressed with Ribeiro on the Contender Series, but like you said, he did not look settled or comfortable at all in that fight against Abdul Razak, and he really just like he just never got going in a sense. And I think that Joe Holmes is a huge guy. He's going to be the bigger guy with the bigger reach advantage. And I think he's going to be able to just push Ribeiro up against the cage, get him into those grappling exchanges, and eventually just wear him down and just get him in a place where he can submit him. So I think Joe Holmes gets this done by submission in the second round, but I do see a Joe Holmes finish as well. But I'm not too confident in this pick. I think
Yeah, it
Ribeiro
could go either way.
Ribeiro could pull out a KO out of anywhere. I mean, his power is serious. The only thing that made me pick Joe Holmes was the fact that Holmes has never been finished by KO. I'm not gonna pick Ribeiro to be the first guy to do that against Joe Holmes.
No.
So in our next fight, we have Rafael Estevam versus Zalgas Zhumagulov.
Yeah.
Um, so Estevam was the Dana White Contender Series. This is his UFC debut. He's finished 7 of 11 wins, 4 by KO and 3 by sub. He's coming off that second round KO win on the Contender Series, and he looked sharp. He's looked very solid. He's fought some decent competition in Brazil. I mean, fighting someone in Zhumagulov who's 1-5 in the UFC, like this was a scary fight for Zhumagulov to take, and Zhumagulov literally retired after his last loss. I know it might have not been like necessarily because he didn't want to fight anymore. I think he was upset with all the split decision losses and just the close decision losses with that. But in a sense, he's been taking his head out of the game, and I just have a bad feeling that you can't be doing that in a fight coming up against a guy that's so hungry like Estevam. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I feel Zalgas, I did think Charles Johnson won that last fight.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure about the Jeff Molina one, but I don't like the way he's being treated here because Zalgas is a veteran. I believe he was ranked at one point. He's kind of being screwed over here, being fed to an undefeated prospect. The UFC wants Estevan to win 11-0. As you said, big finishes. Uh, it's his debut, so Zalgas is very experienced in the UFC. As you said, 1-5 in his last six. That isn't promising. Um, yeah, man, the win in the Contender Series was good. I worry a little bit about his gas tank in the Dana Contender Series fight. I remember him kind of slowing down a little bit, but yeah, I think Zalgas is on his way out, and Estevan, as he's debuting, is on his way in. I do think Estevan takes a unanimous decision.
I completely agree. I have Estevam winning a unanimous decision here as well. I could see Zalgas taking a round, but to be honest, like
Yeah,
Zalgas just has like his boxing is very the same. Like he has the same combinations he's throwing constantly, and I think Estevam will be able to figure it out eventually. So I could see it being like 2-1, but I think Estevam might win this like 3-0. I see it being unanimous though.
yeah,
So next fight we got Phil Hawes versus Ikram Aliskerov. This is a fight, man. This is a
yeah.
fight. Aliskerov, if for anyone that doesn't know, is the his only loss. He's 13-1. His only loss is to Hamzat Chimaev over in Brave, and he was knocked out in the first round. But he also, a lot of people like the way he looked leading up to that knockout loss, and he's dominated everyone else since. He's finished 9 of his 13 wins, 5 subs, 4 KOs. He's been able to have show some versatility in his game in that regard. This is his UFC debut, but I mean his Contender Series fight, his win over Mario Souza, that Kimura man was nasty. And Souza was 15-2 coming in. He was not anything slouch, like not a slouch. So definitely cool to see him get such a big win there. And now he's getting this huge fight in Phil Hawes, who, as we all know, is a huge finisher, big KO artist, has that great boxing, but also he was a champion wrestler, and I want to say, I forget the exact school, so I'm not going to say, but I want to say it was like Iowa State, something along those lines.
Yeah.
But he was a champion wrestler in college. Like he's a very solid wrestler. That's something we don't see as much in him in the UFC. But I think he might be able to neutralize Aliskerov a little bit. But personally, I have Aliskerov being able to wear Hawes down and get the third round sub. I do see Phil Hawes giving him some problems on the feet, but I don't think it's enough. That's going to be enough to finish Aliskerov. What do you think?
Man, I think Hawes is coming back too soon, and that's a Leeds fight. He tears his ACL. I
Yeah,
believe it was a knee bar, and then gets knocked out. I think he was out cold.
he was.
So that was in October, and it's May now. Maybe I'm overblowing this. Maybe doctors are just way better than last time I checked. Usually ACLs take about a year. So I think he might be coming back too soon. I'm a little worried. And also, Hawes hasn't looked great as of late. He got knocked out by Chris Curtis. He did get a big win over Donovan. His name Donovan Wynn.
Duran win. Duran win.
Duran Wynn.
Yes.
But Duran Wynn was criminally undersized
Yes.
for that
Very,
matchup.
very undersized.
That was really bad matchup for him. But yeah, man, as you said, Aliskerov is very good. Those guys out of that region, man, they're just ridiculous. They keep coming into the UFC. At one point, they're just all going to be champions in every single weight classes. We're not going to have any American champions. We're not going to have
any other champions.
It's just going to be Dagestanis, Chechens, and Georgians.
I know this wrestling takeover is crazy.
Yeah, man, but I agree. It's Aliskerov by submission. I think that's a pretty fair pick. I don't know about a round. I would say 2 or 3. I'm not sure about a first round, but I do think Hawes hasn't looked great as of late, and it's just another unfortunate night for him.
And man, like you said, like that was part of me picking Aliskerov too. Like, how is Hawes going to be able to defend these takedowns so recently off that ACL? Like, it's gonna be pretty rough. I don't know if Hawes is going to be able to keep up with the grappling of Aliskerov in this fight so recently off the injury. Next fight, we got Braxton Smith versus my guy, Parker Porter. I just interviewed Parker. He seems like he's in the right mindset. He seems like he's in the right space. He seems like he has a good game plan going in. He recognizes that he made a mistake in the Tafa fight. He talked about what he did wrong, talked about what he wants to do right in this Braxton Smith fight. And just to be honest, I haven't seen enough from Braxton Smith to pick him in this fight. He's 5-0 since coming back to MMA. He has that one loss to Chase Sherman in his debut in 2014, and then he stopped fighting for a bit, came back. We've had 5 first-round KOs since. Nothing that's been over 2 minutes. But at the same time, I got to go Parker Porter by decision in this one. I think Parker Porter is just a more experienced guy. I think he is coming back a little too soon off the KO. But I think as long as he gets out of that first round and is able to stay smart defensively, that he'll be able to get it done. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I really like Braxton Smith. You said you haven't seen enough from him, but 5 under 2-minute knockouts. I mean, you can't knock that. I can't remember the combined record of the opponent, but I mean, he knocks everyone out. I mean, Parker Porter, man, I believe most of his losses have come by KO. He was knocked out cold by Tafa in February. I was shocked. I forgot this fight was booked. I knew Braxton Smith was fighting. I didn't realize Parker Porter was the opponent. And I was going through the card doing my research, and I was like, Parker Porter's back already? I was expecting like an October kind of timeline for him.
Yeah.
He has an ability to make a dogfight though, man. He's tough. He's durable. I believe he has a pretty solid gas tank. But I say durable. I think he is durable, but if you can catch him on the button, like most fighters, and you're a heavyweight, like Braxton Smith, you can knock anyone out. And I'm sorry, man, but I got to go with Braxton Smith by knockout.
Hey,
I think
no
it's
apology.
just another feather in his cap and successful debut for him.
Hey man, no apology necessary. This was one of the fights I actually had a tougher pick on because it's just one of those things where it's like the vet that if it goes a little bit longer into the fight will win, versus the guy with power that could get that knockout early on. And it's just like I had a really hard time picking this one. I did go Porter just because, like I said, if Smith had like one fight that had went into like the 3rd round and he got a KO, I'd maybe be a little bit more comfortable, but I just haven't seen his gas tank enough. And I think if Parker is just able to dodge a couple punches and then grab him and put him up against the cage and hold him there for like 3 minutes, it could really be like taxing on his gas tank, considering he hasn't fought that long in a fight yet. But
yeah, he's got to wrestle. Parker's got to mix in the grappling here.
Yeah, he definitely does. So Marina Rodriguez versus Verna Jandiroba, number 5 versus number 9 ranked. A little low on the card for such a high ranked fight in a sense. But I guess you could say it makes sense. But Marina was a main event headlining in a fight night in her last fight, so it's interesting to see her get bumped so low. Um, she's finished 7 of her 16 wins, 6 by KO. She's has the 2 draws in the UFC. She's 16-2 apart from that. I don't know. I don't know about Marina. That last fight against Lemos was interesting because she looked good, but she looked tentative in a sense, and then Lemos just went out there and sparked her at the start of the third. It was a very like odd performance, and I want to say it was like a one-off, but I don't know if that might be the start of something bad for Marina. And if it is, I really feel like Verna might be able to capitalize here and maybe get on Marina when she's not in her best. But I still have to pick Marina here. I mean, Verna's grappling is obviously a lot better, but Marina's takedown defense has been something that's just been ridiculous throughout her career. And I don't see Verna being able to take and hold Marina down throughout a long enough portion of the fight to win while also neutralizing the striking. I feel like Marina just has that really good long striking and that she'll be able to land no matter what at this point. What do you think? I think Marina takes a decision. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Marina's got a very simple. I say simple, but it's like simple works, right? It's a
Hmm.
clean and slick striking game. There's not any forced shots, I don't think. And Verna Jandiroba, she is very scrappy. She likes to make it a dogfight. She likes to clinch. She likes to grapple. Marina's got an underrated ground game, I feel. That last fight, I agree, was weird. Maybe a slightly early stoppage, if I remember correctly.
It was a weird. That was definitely a weird stoppage.
I was shocked that she even took that fight because she kind of had herself in title shot territory. And when I interviewed her, she told me like she doesn't want to take another fight. She wants to wait. She wants
Hmm.
to fight for the title after the Giancarlo fight. And I think the Giancarlo fight just took a little too long to be made. And she was like, okay, I want to fight now. So she goes out, she fights a dangerous Amanda Lemos and gets caught. That's a fight game. I believe Marina's still pretty young,
Yeah.
and I think she's just the all-round better fighter than Verna Jandiroba. And I do think she takes a unanimous decision.
Yeah, I just think that she's going to be able to hold Verna's takedowns off. Like Verna's great once it gets to the ground, but I just don't think she'll be able to really get it there for a sustained amount of time. Marina has been taken down in almost every single one of her UFC fights, which is something to look out for, but she isn't controlled for most of them. I think Calvillo and Esparza were the only two that really were able to hold her down for a significant amount of time, and those were both really close fights, really close decisions. Maybe the same thing could happen here, but I do think Marina's striking will be enough to get it done. And I hope she comes out. I hope she comes out a little bit hungry because she almost did like lose her title shot in a sense. So
Yeah.
I feel like coming out with that hunger and that anger really might fuel her for a win here. Next
Yeah.
fight, we got Chaos Williams versus Rolando Bedoya. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know too much about Rolando Bedoya. I know a lot about Chaos Williams, though. I mean, he's finished a lot of his wins, 8 of his 13 wins, 7 by KO, 1 by sub, and he's 4-2 in the UFC. He's coming off that split decision loss to Randy Brown, but I mean, that was a really close fight that could have gone either way, and he landed a big punch on Brown that hurt him bad. He did have a lot of success in that fight. So it was just a little bit tentative, and he also had the KO over Miguel Baeza before that. And I don't know. From what I've seen from Bedoya, like I said, I don't know too much, but I did watch a little bit of his fights. He just doesn't have the best striking defense, from what I can tell. He keeps his hands a little too low. He gets hit a little too much. He has a great chin, but that's not something you want against Chaos. You want to be able to have good striking defense. And I think that, Bedoya could get this fight down to the ground. I know he trains over at Shootbox, and I know he has like solid team around him. So he could get this down to the ground, and he could make this an ugly fight for Chaos. But Chaos isn't known really to get taken down, and I don't know. With that lack of striking I see in Bedoya, I think Chaos gets it done in the first round.
Yeah, man, I like Chaos in this fight too. He's got ridiculous knockout power. His gas tank worries me a little bit, but if he lands, it's night night. You're going to sleep. Um, Bedoya, I couldn't find much on him. He does have 11 wins in a row, and I think the debut nerves could cost him here. I'm not sure about a round, but I do think Chaos knocks him out. Chaos, he's one of those guys that like he'll lose to the top competition, but he's still fun to watch because he just knocks people out cold.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's going to be one of those guys that just sticks around for a while as one of the more fun guys at what's it? 170, because he's just always, making it a dog fight, making it like, crazy knockouts out of nowhere, and when he puts people out, they go down. I remember when he knocked out Morono in his debut. That was absolutely wild. So
Yeah.
so next fight here we got Kennedy and Nzechukwu versus Devin Clark. Now this is a bit of an interesting matchup. I honestly thought Kennedy would have gotten something a little bit better, considering he did get the main event, like it was a pushed up from the co-main, but he got the main event win against Cutelaba in his last fight, and he got the finish. I mean, not to say that Devin Clark's bad. I think Devin Clark is better than Cutelaba, but I don't think it's necessarily too big of a step up. I thought Kennedy was going to get a decent push to like hit the top 15. So I don't know. I mean, all of his wins are by KO. Or not all of his wins. All of his finishes are by KO. 8 of 11, and he's 11-3, 5-3 in the UFC. He's coming off the wins over Cutelaba and Roberson, but I don't know. I mean, Devin Clark is just a nightmare matchup for a lot of guys. Like the Eun Jung in his last fight, he made the Eun Jung look bad in his last fight. And we all know Jung's not bad. He knocked out Kennedy. But I don't know. Clark just has that nightmare matchup about him because of that wrestling and just that pressure he brings. But he also has some really bad striking defense. And I do think that Kennedy's volume might be able to get to him at some point. So I'm going to say that Kennedy's volume does end up getting to him and that he gets a third round KO. But I would not be shocked by any means if Clark like just bullies Kennedy and gets a 30-27 unanimous decision. What do you think?
Man, I love Kennedy. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm gonna avoid it. But I'm gonna say Kennedy. I love his nickname, the African Savage. I think it fits perfectly. He's really coming into his own lately. That Cutelaba fight. While Cutelaba maybe not the premier competition, he knocked him out
Mm-hmm.
bad, and that was a really good performance. You just talked about him really being good in the gym now, really like being focused. This is his craft. This is what he needs to do. He knows how to fight with his style. That's the thing. A lot of fighters do struggle with. They don't know how to fight their style, but Kennedy has mastered his style now, and he's a dog. He's a savage, and he's got that knockout power. Clark, if I remember correctly, that Dao and Jung fight was a little bit dull. Wasn't the most exciting one. He did what he had to do to win.
Yeah.
That's that's the game, right? You have
Yeah.
to win. He won to keep his job. His chin worries me a little bit in this
Mm-hmm.
fight, and he has a tendency to give up on himself a little bit, and that worries me. When stuff starts going bad, he kind of shells up. He doesn't throw
Yep, he
back.
he does the
And I
he does
think,
the this
yeah,
exactly. He'll just do this and just shell up against the cage and he gets finished like that a lot. So it is
yeah.
scary.
As you said, Kennedy's volume is going to overwhelm. I think he
Hmm.
knocks him out in the second round. So
Okay,
it's rare for me to pick a round, but I think I'm pretty confident in Kennedy here.
okay, okay. So next we got an absolute banger of a matchup in Drew Dober versus Matt Frevola. Dober has been a UFC vet. He's 12-7 in the UFC. He's finished 19 of his 26 wins, with 13 of those coming by KO. And he's coming off KO wins over Bobby Green and Rafael Alves, where his chin looked better than ever. He ate some massive shots in both of those fights, came back and finished both of those guys like it was nothing. He ate massive shots in those fights and didn't even look hurt. I mean, Drew Dober, I mean, his chin is obviously like, like one of those like MMA lore like things, but like seriously though, like even in recent fights, it's been even better than I ever remember. And Frevola has some knockouts in his past couple. I mean, he's coming off the wins over Azaitar and Valdez, where he's pulled knockouts out, and he wasn't really known to be a knockout guy, and he's been able to starch both of them in the first round. So this is a very fun and interesting matchup. I do think Drew Dober ends up getting it done. I think his power is probably going to just be a little too much. I think he'll probably just stand and bang for a little bit, and I think Dober will probably just have a little bit more power and a little bit better of a chin, but man, I can't wait for this fight. And I could see Frevola getting the upset here. I could see him maybe working in some wrestling and possibly getting like a decision win. What do you think happens?
I love both these guys, man. When I saw the fight announced, it was mixed emotions. I was like, yes,
Hmm.
what a fight. And then also, man, I love both these guys. I
Damn.
don't want to see
Yeah.
them fight. 2022 was an awesome year for both these guys. Drew Dober, 3 knockouts. That wild fight against T-Rex, Alves, and Green. Those were nasty knockouts. And Frevola got some nasty knockouts too. The
Hmm.
Gonzalez one and the Azetar One, what I want to see from Frevola is I want to see him wrestle. That's
Mm-hmm.
a key to me. If he can wrestle and he can get Drew Dober down, he could just take the life out of the fight. Don't mix it up. Don't stand and bang with Drew Dober
Mm-hmm.
because he can take a shot and he'll return one right back, maybe three times the power.
Yep.
So try. I think Frevola is gonna come in with a smart game plan. At least I hope so. Instead of entertaining the home crowd, take him down, control him and just make it dirty, make it messy. Just be in control. Don't let yourself get caught. Drew Dober's tough. He's gonna take all the shots. He's durable. He's got that crimson chin. Uh, but I don't know if Frevola can take him down. I don't really know about Dober's takedown defense, and that's why I go with a Dober decision. I don't see either guy finishing.
Got it. Okay. I like that pick actually. I could definitely see a decision coming, but I agree. Frevola really does need to wrestle for any kind of success in this fight because if this fight is just him standing there and banging with Dober, I don't think it's going to be a good night for him, honestly. He needs to be able to mix in his grappling because he is the better grappler in my opinion. So, going into the next fight, coming onto the main card now, we got Gracie versus Charles Jourdain. Man, this fight is interesting. Gracie hasn't fought in 3.5 years. His last fight was a loss to Cub Swanson, where he got dominated. He was 5-0 coming in. He had never lost. He had just picked up a first round sub over Alex Caceres, picked up a lot of eyes on him. Went fought Cub and just kind of got dominated in a sense. I mean, he really just he didn't have any striking, and Cub just kind of took full advantage of that, didn't go to the ground with him, and just picked him apart at range. I mean, it wasn't a close fight, and I think Kron's taken a lot of time off, maybe to work on his striking and come back a little bit more well-rounded and well-versed. So I'm kind of interested to see the version of Kron Gracie we see coming into this fight. Charles Jourdain, I'm also interested to see how he comes into this fight because he's coming off those back-to-back decision losses over Nathaniel Wood and Shane Burgos. So it's kind of like, Charles Jourdain is almost in a sense he's 4-5-1 in the UFC, and I know he is one of the more exciting guys at the division, but 3-fight losing streak, man, you could be cut. Like, it's really I don't think he will be, but he could be, his next fight could be something that will be scary for him. And I think this is a big fight for Charles Jourdain in terms of where his career is going to go. Because a lot of people did believe he could hit that top 15 and that he did even beat Burgos. And now it's like he's on a downtrend in a sense, and we need to see if he's able to get this win here against Kron Gracie. I do think Jourdain gets it done. I think he's able to work similar to Cub Swanson and get a unanimous decision victory, but I would not be shocked at all if somehow Kron Gracie just threw in like a heel hook in 40 seconds and just caught Jourdain cold. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Kron Gracie's really good. All his wins are by submission. It is 3.5 years out, which is something, but it's not his first long layoff. If you look back, before his UFC debut, Kron Gracie hadn't fought in 3 years. He was fighting in Dream in 2016, took time off, came back, and then submitted Alex Caceres. Caceres is really good too. I believe he's ranked number 14 now in the UFC featherweight division. So, it was a bad loss to Swanson, though. His body was brutalized. I'm sure Jourdain's watched that fight 50 times over and
Yeah,
over and over. Uh, Kron, really, really good submissions. That Gracie family, they're crazy. Jourdain coming off the loss to Nathaniel Wood, friend of mine. Nathaniel Wood is a very, very good fighter.
he's a beast.
Jourdain's flashy, man. He likes to he likes to throw in a big flying knee, likes to just have fun in the cage, and that's why he's such a fan favorite. And he's tough. He can take a shot.
Oh, he
I
can
don't
take a
think
shot.
he's ever been knocked out. I think he's been dropped maybe by I think it was Julian Erosa maybe sat him down
Okay.
once. Um he's tough. He's got an underrated ground game. Submitted Lando Venata. Uh he's good, man. And for me this fight either goes one of two ways. Either Kron Gracie subs him early or Jourdain knocks him out cold. And that's for me. I don't see it going to the cards. Both guys are
Okay.
finishers. And I think Jourdain, he needs a finish. He needs a big moment. Because if as you said, if he goes on a 3-fight losing streak, he's fighting for a job. I don't think he gets cut after that because fans love him and he's on the main card for a reason,
Yeah.
opening the show. And I do think Jourdain wins. I do think he knocks out Kron Gracie. But that being said, Kron Gracie could definitely just submit him.
Yeah.
Kron
Like
Gracie's weird too. He's a weird guy.
just throw
He
in
just he
some
could just
shit.
he could just appear, submit him, and walk back out and disappear for 3 more
Just
years.
not fight again for another 3 years,
And
literally.
like his social media is dead too. It's not like he's promoted this fight at all.
I
What
didn't
if he
even
just doesn't
realize.
show up? I haven't seen anything about him.
Would that be the first time someone just didn't show up? That would have to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine Jourdain steps on the weigh-in scales and then
And Kron
Jourdain just
Gracie,
no-shows? Or Kron Gracie just
Kron
no-shows?
Gracie to the weigh-ins. No one comes out. It's just like
Nothing.
nothing. He ran away. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. It would be kind of funny though.
That'd be amazing. One Pat Dana MMA here. I just wanted to say that we made the video when Movsar and Bryce was still announced before the fight was off. We didn't have footage of us making our picks for this new fight, but we both have Movsar by decision. We both think that he's probably just going to be too much for Lopes. He's a newcomer. He hasn't fought much recently, and he just hasn't been able to show what Movsar has shown in his career. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Jessica Andrade versus Yan Xiaonan. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because Andrade, coming off that loss to Erin Blanchfield in February, she was supposed to win that fight. A lot of people thought she was. I was personally picking Blanchfield because I'm from Jersey, but I'm in the minority there. So, I Andrade, I don't think. I don't think she's on the downtrend after that loss. She looked good in that fight. They were throwing back and forth in that first round. They were going at it. I think she just lost to a better grappler. And I don't think Xiaonan is a better grappler than her. I think Andrade is the better grappler. I think Andrade has more power. I think Xiaonan might have more accuracy and technical striking. But other than that, I just don't see a very clear path to victory for Xiaonan in this fight. I think Andrade probably kind of just bullies her around like she does with most girls, but I also, I could see Xiaonan making this, a boring fight and somehow winning a decision, kind of just keeping her distance, keeping Andrade off with leg kicks and stuff. She did a good job in the Marina fight with keeping her away and just working the jab and the leg kicks and stuff. So maybe she does the same thing here, but I think Andrade finishes her in the second round, I'm going to say.
Yeah, man. You hit the nail on the head there. Andrade, third fight of the year already for her. It's only May.
I didn't even
She's
remember
tough.
that.
She's durable. She's powerful. And Jan, I think, has better technical striking. She's coming off a good win over Mackenzie Dern. But I think Andrade is just a better fighter overall. I think she's just everywhere. I think she can win this fight. I do think she takes a decision. I think there's not much more breaking down I can do. I think you hit the nail on the head on everything there.
Thank you.
I think Andrade gets the win here, and it's a unanimous decision for her.
Yeah, what's it? Yeah, I don't think this is. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. This could turn out to be a big upset and a showcase for Xiaonan, but I don't think there's much to break down in this fight. I just think Andrade is the better fighter from what we've seen so far. Maybe Xiaonan will prove us wrong, and I kind of hope she does. It throw a little bit of a spark in the strawweight division in a sense. So I'm not against Xiaonan at all. I just don't really see a path to victory for her in this one. And now we got the co-main event. 5 rounds. Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns. What a fight. And this one came out of nowhere. You know what? I'll let you start with this one. You start this one out.
Man, this fight came together. Bilal was asking for the catch weight of 175. Burns said, no, fight me at 170. We got to earn the title shot. We got to be the BMFs of this division. And they're the BMFs of this division. Bilal Muhammad hasn't lost a fight since he got beat up by Jeff Neal in January of 2019. Gilbert Burns is on a roll. Third fight of the year. Dominant win over Masvidal. Wasn't the most exciting fight, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to fight your fight. You can't stand with Masvidal. Even though Masvidal's regressed a little bit, you still can't stand with him. And it's short notice, and this worries me for Gilbert Burns. It's 2 weight cuts inside a month. It's not even been a month since he last fought. And 2 weight cuts, that's going to be interesting. I do think he's kept his weight low, but it's also a tough weight cut for Bilal. So I think the biggest fight here for both these guys is on the skills. If they can hit 170, that shows to Dana, hey, we're here. We can make it. We'll fill in for Colby Covington if he can't fight. We'll be the backup. So that's going to be interesting. I do think it decides who the next title shot guy is going to be. 5 rounds makes it interesting. Both guys, very good wrestlers, very good grapplers. I do think, just like the Evloev fight, is going to cancel each other out, and they're going to stand up with each other. And who's got the better stand up? I do think Gilbert Burns has it. He's got more power. We saw Bilal knock out Sean Brady in his
Yeah.
last one, but I do think Gilbert Burns can crack, and Bilal Muhammad's chin isn't the best. And I do think Gilbert Burns knocks him out in round 3. I have picked Bilal a lot recently, but I do think Gilbert Burns is just that guy, and he lines himself up for a title shot.
This is one of those fights that I cannot get a clear read on. I like literally usually when I hear a fight announcement, I start thinking, first thing I think, oh, how is this going to play out? And I start to try to like imagine it in my head in a sense. And this is just one of those fights that for the time since the time it was announced, I cannot imagine how this fight is going to go. I cannot picture them in the octagon together, and I can't picture like one beating the other. Like I don't know why. It's just one of those fights. I will pick a winner. I have Bilal Muhammad winning a decision because I do think it's a very even fight in the sense that Gilbert has better power, better grappling, and better speed. Bilal has better cardio, better volume, I think, and better wrestling. I think it's a very even fight in that regard that like they almost cancel each other out in like a lot of areas, and I agree. I don't think it will be much of a ground fight, but I almost just have a feeling that Bilal's gonna win like a 3-2 decision. I don't know. I think it's a close fight, and I like Bilal's style. I know a lot of people don't, but it's a very effective style. I love the way he beat up Luque. I really did. Like that was like
Yeah,
that was as effective as it gets. He literally struck for like the first half of each round, and then as soon as any trouble came up, hit the ground and just grappled him away. I think Bilal takes it, but then again, I'm not very like confident in this pick. So
yeah, I'm
could go
not
either
confident
way.
my Burns pick this fight go either way. I do rate Muhammad highly, but I do think Colby Covington beats him. That's one
Okay.
thing I do think.
Okay.
I do think Colby beats Muhammad. Sorry, Bilal, if you see this. Sorry, man. But I do rate him highly. I do think he's very, very good. But I just think Burns is maybe slightly better. But Bilal, if you want to prove me wrong, please be my guest. Make it entertaining. Make it good. Let's do it. If you win here, you're next for the title shot. I don't think there's any argument here after Colby, right?
Hmm.
Colby's lined himself up now.
Yes.
After Colby, you're next. Congratulations.
Yeah, I really like what you said about the weight too. A lot of this is on the scales because Burns, like you said, third fight in the year, just fought less than a month ago. Muhammad just coming off of Ramadan. Like it's a very tough like time for both of these guys to be fighting in a sense. And this fight is very forced. They needed a co-main event for this card and they forced this fight. It's not the right time for this fight, but I'm not complaining because I'll be there to see it. So, I mean, hey, no issue there, but it just feels a little weird now. It doesn't feel like it's the right time for this fight in a sense.
Yeah, it could have been delayed maybe for International Fight Week. Maybe I think there's a second pay-per-view
In
in
July, yes, there is.
July. Or they could have put on UFC London where I'm going to in July. That would have been fun. But okay, we've got it this week, so can't complain,
Hey
right?
man, that's can't complain of what the UFC does. We just got to accept what's given to us at this point.
Exactly. We've
The
got no impact on it.
Yeah, we have none. I mean, some of the main events lately have been rough. I mean, some of the cards lately have just been rough. So yeah, we really have no
Yeah, but
impact
you
on
get to
it.
go to bed at 11 p.m. I have to go to bed at
Oh
like
yeah,
5 a.m. So
dude, I feel so bad for you sometimes. I think about it all the time. Like I see your tweets and I'm just like, oh no. Like
I'm
I'm
dying
like, I'm
now.
like,
Sometimes I'm just like,
I'll see your tweet and be like, dude, he's sitting here watching like a heavyweight MMA fight at 4 in the morning. It's
sometimes
rough.
I'll take a quick power
It's rough.
nap. Like, so at UFC 284, I had just covered Glory,
Okay.
and I was watching it in the hotel room. I ordered a pizza,
Okay.
but they didn't cut the pizza. I had no knife and fork, so I was like kind of folding it and ripping it. It was the worst thing ever. And I think it was during like Fruit Menafeld, I really started feeling tired. I was like, okay, set an alarm for 6 a.m. I can wake up in time for Volkanovski Islam. I ended up only sleeping like 30 minutes. I woke up in time for Jack Della Maddalena.
Okay.
But the power nap helps. So if you've got a fight you're not excited for, take a quick power nap. 15
Okay.
minutes, just set an alarm on your phone, wake back up, watch it. Yeah. It's tough.
I can only imagine. I salute you. Seriously, I do salute you for your like commitment and your effort.
Yeah.
So it's time to break down main event. The champion Aljamain Sterling versus Triple C Henry Cejudo. I had the privilege of talking to Aljamain literally 2 days ago, 3 days ago, I want to
Yeah.
say. I went to Law MMA and was able to speak to the champ, have that short interview coming up soon, coming out soon. And he seems like he's in shape. He seems ready. His mind seems like it's in the right place. Um, Same thing with Henry. Henry seems like he came back for a reason. This is like it's time for him for a reason. They're both amazing. I mean, Henry's on what, six fight? Aljamain's on
Mm.
an eight fight. If Aljamain wins this fight, he will tie the bantamweight record for title defenses and break the record for consecutive bantamweight title defenses because the two guys with the record are Cruz and Dillashaw, and they both did it
Mm.
on two separate title reigns. It would be one for Aljo. Aljo would technically have a claim as the best bantamweight champion with a win in this fight. He already kind of does, but that claim really gets engraved in a sense with a win here. So I'm really interested to see what Aljo can do. I personally think that Henry is probably gonna have some ring rust. The layoff is probably gonna be a bit too much. Aljo has like a 6-7 inch reach advantage. He has a 4 inch height advantage. And Henry's used to fighting a lot smaller guys. Even TJ, when he fought TJ at bantamweight, TJ was a smaller guy. Maurice isn't a massive guy in a sense. And
Yeah.
I just don't like, I don't know. I have a weird feeling that Sterling just is too big for him and just going to be too much, and I think Aljamain gets it done by submission in the third round. The one thing in Cejudo's game that he hasn't shown a lot is jiu-jitsu. He has no submission wins in the UFC. His wrestling is amazing, but we just haven't seen enough jiu-jitsu from him, and we all know Aljo is the king of, taking necks, taking someone's back. He's really great at that. So I just have a weird feeling that Aljo gets this done.
Yeah, man. Funkmaster is awesome. I think I rank him very highly on the bantamweight greatness scale. His resume speaks for itself. Um, you know, there's some asterisks next to his title defense. Obviously, the way he won the belt wasn't the most fun way. I've talked to Longo about it. He feels, and I feel like the win over Jan the second time, that was when he won the belt.
Completely validated it. Completely validated the
That
first fight. Yep.
that was him winning the belt for
Yes.
me.
Okay.
As a longtime fan of Aljo, I'm a big fan of Piotr Jan too. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one of those fights where it was like good and bad. But Aljo is really, really good. He's really good at establishing his game. And Cejudo's been out for a long time. I was shocked when he retired after knocking out Cruz. 3 years out now. That's going to be really difficult for him, I think. And Aljo, as you said, he has a big reach advantage, and he is a super rangy striker. He's he embraces the funk. He kicks a lot up the middle. He moves around a lot. He's very herky jerky, kind of like TJ Dillashaw in that way. Little less power. Very good at finding his reads. And I posted a while ago. There's a very good breakdown. He knows how to like make people move their hands somewhere else and then shoot in for a takedown. He knows how to make someone move into his takedown
Got
and
it.
how to take the back. I don't see a finish in this fight. I think if either guy wins, it's a decision. Um, and I feel like the ground game might cancel out. I think Aljo could have some success taking the back maybe in one round for like the last minute. Henry has the better takedowns. I think he can take him down. Be very. I want to see the scrambles. I want to see them
Mm-hmm.
grappling.
Yeah, we need to
That's
see
what I
some
want
of
to see.
that.
As you said, Henry, I want to see where his jiu-jitsu's at. Aljo, he's gonna throw submissions up. He
Mm-hmm.
will. He's got one of the best submissions I've seen. It was a arm triangle from the bottom, and I was shocked when he pulled that off. Um, and so I think Aljo wins here. I do have an Aljo shirt that says champion on it, so I will be disappointed if he loses because it isn't valid
Yep.
anymore. Um, but I do like Cejudo a lot, so I'm not biased in that way. I do
Mm-hmm.
think Cejudo is very good. He's one of my favorites ever. So is Aljo. Um, but I think Aljo wins here. I think he's the slicker striker. The 3 years out worries me. Aljo's been active. I know people are saying to strip Aljo and stuff. I don't get that. two title defenses in a year. How can you complain about that? He came off neck surgery. That is significant. A lot of fighters, like, for example, Dominic Cruz. He was out for a long time with a torn knee. Everyone's like, oh, cool. We love Dominic Cruz. It
Yeah.
was just the way Aljo won the belt that upsets people.
Yep.
And Aljo, you know, he has the personality to back it up. He's fun. I find him fun. People find him cringe. I understand that. Same with Henry. I find him fun. People find him cringe. Is what it is. That interaction in the hotel is very telling to me. I think they both have a lot of respect for each other. So I don't think any guy is going to be rushing in to uh, force things. I think it's going to be very technical. Maybe not the most exciting fight. I hope it is. I do think Aljo wins a decision here. I'm going 49-46, 48-47. That's why I'm feeling. Aljo title defense. I would love to see him fight again later in this year. Sean O'Malley is sitting right there. Um, I would love to see the Marab fight. That's not going to happen.
No.
If he beats O'Malley, I think he moves up, which I don't really like. I don't like him at 45. I think Volk beats him.
Yeah.
Marab, I think, is just waiting to take the crown in that division. If Aljo wants to stick around, I don't think Marab will complain because I think he's pretty young. I would be interested in Aljo versus Song Yadong,
Ooh,
coming
that's a
off
fun
his
one.
big win. I can't remember who else was in that top three. Corey Sandhagen rematch interests me a little bit. I think Corey's gotten a lot better since that fight. But yeah, give me Aljamain Sterling by decision.
Got it. Got it. I originally did have a decision in this fight as well. I thought Aljo would probably take a decision. I couldn't see it going like not to a decision. And then I pulled up a magic number in this fight for some reason, which is 3. And the magic number is 3 because Henry's coming back from a 3-year layoff nearly directly on the day. And Aljamain's coming for his 3rd title defense, which would break the record of consecutive bantamweight title defenses. And I just think it would be really crazy and almost like it's almost telling in a sense that like this fight might end by a 3rd round knockout or a 3rd round submission or just in the 3rd round in general. And I don't know. I like the Aljo sub in the 3rd round, but I really just I just think Aljo probably gets it done. I think that ring rust for Henry is just going to be too much. So, all right, I think that's it.
Well, one thing that
Oh,
worries me with Sterling, I just want to say,
yeah.
is his gas tank. So I think he has to
Okay.
start quick. He has to take the first 2 rounds like he did against Jan. He has to take the 3rd round too. And then, you know, he has a tendency when he gasses out a little bit to get on the back, you know, lay back, kind of let the other guy have success because he's struggling a little bit. Interested to see that because Cejudo's got a good gas tank. But yeah, I'm sticking with my Sterling prediction.
Okay, yeah, no, that actually is an interesting to think about the fact that Aljo does, you saw it in the Yan fight, the first Yan fight, he was obviously a little gassed, and then you saw it again in the second Yan fight when Yan controlled him in rounds 4 and 5. So, yeah, I mean that is definitely something I'm going to keep my eye on as well, Aljo's gas tank, but I don't know. I feel like usually it's on point. Like usually it's pretty good, and I feel like training with a guy like Marab, like only makes your gas tank better. But I don't know. There's you never know. But all right, Patrick, that's it. I thank you for coming on and
No
appreciate
problem,
all
man.
the picks and just the time you put into this. Thank you, man. Seriously.
Of course, man. Always. Whenever you want to film these, I'm here.
Hmm.
Just give me a couple days notice so I can prepare.